ADHDS females, ADHDAF, ADHDS females, the podcast.
Hi, I'm Dawn.
Hi, I'm Laura, and we are ADHDAF. Seriously. We are two neurodivergent neighbours who moved to the same street at the same time, at the same age, with the same undiagnosed disability. What are the chances?
Since discovering the enormous impact ADHD has had on our lives and the horrifying numbers of missing undiagnosed females, it has become our mission to make some serious noise.
We want to use our voices to raise awareness, break the stigma, and share our experiences in the hope that they help others.
So join us for a chat, or as it's called up here in Aberdeen, a blether.
Trigger warning, we will be covering some really sensitive topics, so please do have a read of the description of each episode before listening.
It's important to note that we are not medical professionals, we're not therapists or coaches, we're not qualified to offer advice or support. What we will do is share our experiences alongside resources and information from professionals. We will talk over each other and we will go off topic and forget the point mid-sentence.
We are both assigned female at birth, which means that we can only speak from the experience of life as AFAB people. However, ADHDAF is an inclusive space. Whatever your gender, you are very welcome here.
Yes, you are.
ADHDS females, ADHDAF.
Live from Edinburgh.
Yeah, this is really profesh, isn't it?
We're sitting in an actual podcast studio.
At Royal Scots Club in Edinburgh, where we just, well, I say performed, we just did Too Much Edinburgh to a crowd of about 70, just under that.
Yeah.
People, one of which was my cousin, unexpectedly, who I haven't seen since I was a child. And we literally catastrophically ballsed everything up, and it was fantastic.
It wouldn't go any other way though, would it?
No.
But yeah, so this is the last episode
Oh, fuck.
of the season.
Happy birthday to us. This is our 1 year episode.
Yeah, happy
I
birthday.
totally forgot that.
So this is coming out on the 2nd of May.
So when this comes out, we'll be 2 hours away from going on stage for our first birthday extravaganza in Leeds at Old Woolen.
Yeah, we will have birthday cake.
Cake.
So if you're
cake.
coming to Leeds, then
Get some cake in your face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe not in your face, but inside of your mouth. That's weird, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really strange. But yeah, before we even get there, tonight, we're being driven by wonderful, legendary community member, whose name I've just forgotten.
Ali.
Sorry, Ali. She knows that I know her. I just have the memory of a sieve.
If you're in our Patreon community, you'll know her on Discord as Scary Fairy.
Scary Fairy.
Yeah.
So she is driving us to Newcastle tonight with the wonderful Nicole Nadler because we've kidnapped Nicole.
We have kidnapped Nicole. Say hello, Nicole.
Hi, I'm not here under duress. I've not been that way kidnapped, but I'm coming.
Yeah,
Yes.
So Laura and I didn't really think through how we would actually manage to do a podcast tour, just the two of us.
Well, no, we did. We just really foolishly thought that was a possible thing to do.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah.
But then we realised, well, Nicole, how did it start? You said.
I said, do you have people on every step of the way to like help with stuff? And Laura was like, no, I've got my friend in one place. And I was like, right. So that's like, that's going to be tough. And Laura's like, yeah, it's really just a shame that we can't clone you and just have you come with us the whole way. And I was like quickly reviewing the calendar in my head. I'm like, do I have anything that I need to be in Edinburgh physically for?
Yeah.
And I was like, you can? Let me just think it through. Yeah, okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
So we pretty much looked at all the plans, figured out
And 24 hours later,
if we could take an extra person on the road with us.
And all the people that are giving us a lift because this road show has become a community road trip.
Yeah.
With lots of different people from our community very kindly taking us all over the country. And they all have ADHD, and what could possibly go wrong?
So hopefully we'll see you in Leeds on the 2nd. Yeah, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. But so right now we're recording at the Royal Scots Club in Edinburgh in their fantastic podcasting studio.
This is the most professional setup we've had since we started.
Just off the stage into this amazing studio, and you can hire this studio out and record your own podcast.
It's very cool.
So if you're in Edinburgh or surrounding areas, you want to record a podcast, then head to theroyalscotsclub.com/podcasting and you can check it out there.
Yeah, without the.
Yeah. royalscotsclub.com/podcasting.
Yeah. What we're doing in this episode is just going through some of our highlights of the year.
Yeah.
And by highlights, I think we kind of thought, we could do a load of funny things, we could do a load of whatever, but we decided to go with the clips that were the most meaningful, the things that we're really proud that we managed to broadcast all over the world in 183 countries, which at this present moment is number 20 in Spotify Society and Culture chart.
Big round of applause.
So there'll be highlights from pretty much, every interview that we've done. And I think possibly the one that we did, I can't even remember what I'm talking about.
Most ADHD thing of the year,
the most ADHD thing and the community one.
Yeah.
Which I can't remember what that episode was
It was for
called.
ADHD Awareness Month in October.
That's the one, yes.
So it's a really, really special one, and they're all the things that really mean a lot to us. And we're just so, so grateful to all of the people who volunteered their voice for the cause and helped us out this year. I think especially Dr. James Brown of the ADHD Adults, because if he hadn't have come on our podcast, I don't reckon we would have persuaded anybody to be honest. And
he led the way.
And then Clementine Ford. Don't know what she was doing talking to the likes of us, but thank you.
Yeah, thank you to everyone that's joined us.
Yeah, that day when we got up at 5:00 in the morning to interview Clementine Ford in Melbourne, I knew something good was going to happen.
Yeah.
I literally came out of my house this is really ridiculous that I'm hopping 2 steps across the way to my neighbours to record a podcast at 5 a.m. with Clementine friggin' Ford.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
Yeah, so these clips are, from all our wonderful guests that we've had.
Yeah. And thank you to everyone who's volunteered their voice and we haven't been able to get on.
Yeah.
We would love to hear everybody's story. Everybody's story is equally important. And obviously we're in a crisis and there's fucking loads of us, so we actually can't have everybody on.
Yeah.
But please know you're appreciated. And thank you so much for your support.
Yes, thank you.
What's been your highlight of the tour so far?
I don't know.
I'm going to say the dance cipher that happened yesterday, unexpectedly.
Yeah, we had a dance off.
We had 2 slut drops. It was absolutely fabulous.
It was incredible. I think, that was in Glasgow. That was in
Glasgow, yeah.
That was, so if you're coming to any of the dates,
we love a dance cipher. Let's do it.
Yeah, let's have a dance circle. Let's do some Cossack, which I was doing, and let's be having you.
Let's be having you. So what have we got coming up? So we're going to Newcastle tonight.
Yeah.
We've got Newcastle tomorrow at the County Hotel,
which you will have missed because this is coming out on the 2nd of May.
So then we've got Leeds, which is our birthday party at Old Woollen. Then we've got Nottingham Cozy Club, Wednesday 3rd of May at 7 p.m. Then we've got Birmingham at Tonight Josephine, Thursday 4th of May, Star Wars Day at 7 p.m. Manchester Salford Lads Club, Saturday 6th of May at 4 p.m. Cardiff, another amazing Tonight Josephine, Sunday the 7th of May. Bristol Tonight Josephine, Monday 8th of May. And then we go all the way down to Truro for Dawny's first ever time in Cornwall.
Yeah.
Which is very exciting. Old Bakery Studios, Tuesday the 9th of May at 7 p.m. Brighton Harbour Hotel, Wednesday the 10th of May. London, which is sold out.
Yeah.
We're in downstairs at the department store in Brixton at 6:30 on Thursday the 11th. And then the grand finale in Norwich at the Flint Room, Friday the 12th of May at 6:30 p.m.
Woo! Can you believe it?
No, it's really fucking surreal, isn't it?
It really is.
It's really, really strange.
At the moment, we're literally just taking one day at a time.
There's stuff that we haven't sorted out, like actual guests. I'm like, oh, fuck that. That's Friday's problem. Right, what have we got now?
So if anyone can sort us out with a screen and projector for Nottingham, please give us a shout because we haven't got there yet.
Photographers, if you're in the city that we're coming to, public speakers, anything.
Yeah, any local ADHD groups, if you want to come along and speak for 5 minutes.
Honest to God, that was always our plan. But as we have made very clear in the previous episode, we don't have enough hours in the day to just do the podcast.
Exactly.
And we took on organising a tour, just the two of us. So we've done our best. And actually, there comes a point where you just have to go, do you know what? That's the best we've got.
Yeah.
And that's what we've always done, and that's what we'll continue to do. And we definitely did that on the stage today, where we forgot everything multiple times, but it was still brilliant because we were with literally like-minded people and all of the people that, listen to the podcast and support us. And we're super grateful for all of your support.
Yeah, so without further ado, let's take it away and listen to our highlights.
Yes.
First up, Dr. James Brown, episode 5.
There are very few of us who've just got ADHD and nothing else.
Yeah.
Most of us have either got an anxiety issue, a mood issue, migraines, thyroid problems, hyperflexible joints, addiction issues, eating disorders. There's so much shit that comes with
fun
it.
and games, isn't it?
Oh, it is. No, it is. It's the second D in ADHD stands for delightful, as far as I know. But I can think back over now 47 years of my life, and the bits that I can remember, a lot of the worst bits I can now see was because I just, I had ADHD, didn't know it. I didn't know how to appropriately respond emotionally to things. I was a massive mess, hating myself for being unreliable and forgetful and doing all the things that we do. And a lot of that self-loathing, I can't shed now. I'm having some counselling and it's helping, but it's this deeply ingrained concrete image of myself, which is you're shit, you're useless, you're unreliable, there's nothing about you that's good. And that's because for years I had ADHD, and we are square pegs trying to fit into a round hole for the whole of our lives, because the world is not designed for us. It's designed for, I hate the word neurotypical because I think it's divisive, but it is designed for neurotypical people by neurotypical people, and we're these weird square pegs that don't really fit in.
Sophia Hilton, episode 7.
In your case, Dawn, you at this point, without a full diagnosis, can still treat yourself in exactly the same way. You can still follow all the Instagram accounts with all of the hacks, all of the help. You can still benefit from the compassion of listening to the podcasts, to the YouTube channels. So if you pretty much know you have it, just treat yourself in the same way as until you have that diagnosis, because you don't really need to wait to give yourself this compassion now.
Dr. Alex Connor, episode 9.
So I don't want to talk about money with this, because I realise what it cost me, and still does, even though I am treated and I do manage it relatively well. It's peace. The concept of peace. From as young as I can remember, I felt different. And I remember begging my brain to just stop. Why won't it stop? Said it out loud so often to my mum. I didn't understand. I knew that other people weren't like this, and just stopped for a bit. I called them the bees in my head. Why won't they stop? And then at 14, I discovered substance abuse. And I couldn't believe that that it stopped my brain for a bit. And so that's always been a running problem with me. And so when I can't do substances, then I have to live with the bees, which I now try to most of the time. So the thing it's cost me is evenings of peace. I genuinely love nothing more than, I feel sick saying this, but my actual family. And just sitting and being with them is one of my favourite things to do. And they're safe for me in the safe space. And every single day of my life, about 5-6 o'clock, my shitty little ADHD brain goes, do something else, feel itchy, have a drink. Oh, drugs are nice, do some drugs, do the drugs. And I resent ADHD for that. And I try really hard, and I've got loads of coping strategies, mainly sport, which James hates, that I try and do. And, ADHD meditation, which isn't like normal meditation, but just seems so unfair that I can't, that's cost me a lot, that, and it still does. I still want to drink. I want to drink right now. I don't like it.
Clementine Ford, episode 11.
You look at 40 years worth of photographs of your life in a huge tapestry, like millions of photographs. And you can't, you can zoom in on each of them individually and go, oh, that's me having poor time management skills. That's me, never paying a parking fine. That's me being, in a state of depersonalization for 3 months. That's me sabotaging every relationship I've ever had because I don't want anyone to get too close to me, because then they'll see the real me and they won't like it. And you look at all of those photographs individually, and they're all so filled with shame and self-loathing. Mm-hmm. And then you zoom out, or like what part of like understanding ADHD for me and the diagnosis is zooming out and seeing that it's actually all one giant picture. Yes. And it's kind of like a magic eye thing. And you're like, oh, all of these individual things actually make up this really beautiful person.
Yeah.
Who's managed, in spite of like challenges, who's managed to achieve some really great things. And that's what I feel proud of.
Louise Pink Pear Bear Williams, episode 13.
The people that's reaching, who I've probably sat there feeling exactly like I did, like, what is wrong with me? Like, why can I not function like the other adults? Why am I letting everybody in my life down? I'm a terrible mum. I'm awful at all these things. I've failed left, right, and centre. And then to just see that one thing or hear that one snippet where you go, wait, hang on, that sounds like me.
Yeah.
It's, to be able to do that is just such a gift. And I'm pretty certain that if TikTok and everything was around when I was a teenager, that I would have got diagnosed then.
Yeah.
Helen Anderson, episode 15.
All I've ever tried to do is please people and be generous and try and like not convince you, but try and all make you feel like I do love and care about you. But if I'm late for something, or I forget something, or I forget to text you back, or I've forgotten to say happy birthday once before, it's not because I don't give a shit. It's because it's just the way I am. And then now it all makes sense as to why. Yeah. But like, people have given me a hard time over the years for just being me. I've also had like ex-boyfriends give me a hard time about just the way I do things or the way I react to things. And all of these things, eventually they grind you down. They belittle, or the belittling and the you're too much, or you're not doing this, or you're doing that wrong, or you're too loud, or you talk too much, chips away at your self-esteem.
Nicole Adler, episode 17.
Having ADHD is probably the worst thing that's ever happened to me. Getting diagnosed with ADHD, best thing.
That's a good one.
Hannah Baxter, episode 19.
I went through a quite bad period with my mental health, like quite bad depression and anxiety about 3 years ago. Mm-hmm. And I just thought that there was something more to it. I was just like, I just don't think that's it. There's something underlying with this. I think people have always joked about me having ADHD, but it's always been exactly that. It was always a bit of a joke, like a bit kind of, that's really funny. But I don't think, certainly back then, a lot of people really knew about adult ADHD existed, or it certainly wasn't as widely spoken about or publicised as it is now. And I just went to the doctor and I said, look, I think I looked it up, and I like literally went through all of the symptoms. I was like reading my CV.
Joe Charlin, episode 21.
One of the things that did occur to me, I was thinking about it yesterday, is that it's cost me a lot of power. And, because of where I've always felt about myself, I've allowed other people that have the power, because I've always felt like I'm not as good.
That's me. That is me to a T. I'm exactly the same. I will sit back. If someone takes the reins, look at our situation with the podcast in itself. Like, if someone sits and takes the reins, I'll let them go. So unless I'm really being pushed to do something on my own, I tend to just be like, well, you're going to do that better than me, so I'll just let you do it. And that is me to a T. I can really relate on that one.
I feel like that resonated with me in a completely different way. And it was really like, I was like, oh my God, because it's a bit like I've blindly followed people in my life, like previous partners or friends or whatever. And it is that. It's not so much that I've sat back, it's that I've thought to myself, oh, I don't think that's such a good idea. I think this would be better, or I would prefer to do this or that. But actually it's been like, but they must know better than me. So
Yeah.
I should do what they're saying.
Yeah.
They'll know better. So I'll just follow. Is that which way has it worked for you? Because honestly, you've just blown my mind with that. That's
like that in
amazing.
both cases, yeah.
I think it's I don't know, I've let myself be intimidated by people quite a lot. And I don't know whether that's mixed in there. So people at school, you know, if they took the piss, it's like, well, I should shut up because they're kind of almost, I don't know. I don't know whether people are better than me, but I know in a work context, and I don't feel this anymore because I work in a really sensible team of people.
Yeah.
In previous jobs, I thought, oh, well, you know, be careful because they'll react like this or they'll react like that. And as a result, I've ended up kind of curbing who I really am for some of it. And I think that's when you give people power. Or I've allowed myself, you know, have you ever seen that Hannah Gadsby stand-up set where she talks about when you use self-depreciating comedy, you're allowing other people to have that kind of power. You're not big. And it's kind of like that. So I use comedy all the time.
You self-depreciate.
Yeah. So I mean, I always say at work, I know we talked about this the other day, but I've been around the goldfish bowl. That's how it is. I'm like, when you take the piss out of yourself, people receive it in a way that is they're a good egg and it's okay and we can laugh with them.
Yeah.
When you're giving that power away, what happens is people use it and they take the piss out of you with it. So they take what you're saying and use it to belittle you. And I've let people do that. That's that's probably what I mean, I think. It's not a good thing.
Jenny Okolo, episode 22.
I don't know if you probably noticed I said it's a neurodevelopmental condition.
Yeah.
So I make sure, because in my eyes, it's a clinical condition.
Yeah.
It's not just, oh, I've got ADHD. It's just, no, it's actually a clinical condition. The same way schizophrenia is a clinical condition. So I make sure, especially when I'm, talking to people about it, that I ensure people understand that learning disability or, all these, different neurodiverse conditions are neurodevelopmental. It's to do with the brain. It's something that, it can't be helped. Like, treat it as you would any other condition. Yeah, and like you rightly said, like, I think that will definitely, the more people know that will definitely sort of solidify the seriousness of it. And I can't believe I'm even saying it because it's a condition, but a lot of people don't take it serious. They still think, oh, well, you can get over it, or you're just being lazy, or all these different stereotypes.
Cherie Scott, aka Forever Yours Betty, episode 25.
Like, things that I always say that, like, I wish people, because people say, why the fascination with orange? And I'm like, I wish I could bottle and just let people try what I feel when I'm wearing orange or when I see orange or whatever. Like, for me, it is a full sensory experience. It's like, it literally radiates me and it makes me feel good. And so many times, and that's why like so many times I wake up and I feel awful, and then I just put that on. It's like putting on my armor, and I just feel like
totally get that,
safe and ready, and like, and then I find it dead weird that like I'm walking about, and although I feel safe and ready, and I always think of this meme, and it's like Miss Piggy wearing all of this, like this big Kermit the Frog outfit, and it's just like I hate it. And I was like, that is literally me. It's like walking about all orange. I'm like, no, but don't look at me. Like, I mean, I'm just normal. Like, it's like,
don't look at me. Don't judge me.
Don't perceive me. Like,
that is absolutely great. So do you think that you feel like, so it's everything? It's like a hug, but it's like power as well.
Yeah. It just makes, it's powerful, and it just makes me feel good. I just literally get so much joy from it. And like, I wish that people could experience like neurodiverse joy. Like, I feel like there's nothing like it. Like, when you're literally just like, I just wish everybody could feel that, because it feels so good.
This is a clip from the ADHD Awareness Month special where we had our listeners speak. episode 26.
My name's Sarah and I'm mum to 3 beautiful children, one of which is neurodivergent. What I want the world to know about ADHD is that it is a thing and it is a disability. Just because you don't understand what it is or you're too ignorant to understand, and the fact that I am a master at masking, it's still a disability and I'm crippled by it on a daily basis. And so is my son, so please show some respect and be kind. It has negatively impacted our lives in so many ways. For those that say, oh, I don't believe ADHD is a real thing, get a medical degree and come back to me. For those that say everybody wants a label these days, sorry, no, this is not a label that I want for myself or my son. It's debilitating. For those that say, oh, everyone seems to have ADHD these days, no, we're just not suffering in silence anymore, and why should we? So to those that do think everyone wants a diagnosis, everyone has ADHD these days, no, this is a fucking ADHD movement. Educate yourself.
We have ADHD. We spent our lives trying to fit in.
Failing to fit in.
Unaware that we never could.
So we berated ourselves.
Until we hated ourselves.
And we apologised for even existing.
Until we discovered there are others like us.
So many, just like us.
We are no longer alone.
We never were.
We will stand together.
We will take off our masks.
We will stop trying to meet your expectations.
And we will never apologise again.
We have ADHD. We are ADHD AF. Vivian and Shauna from the ADHD Babes, episode 27.
There are histories of people having mental health conditions, mainly bipolar, to be honest, where just because you're Black and you have a manic episode, you end up being sectioned.
Yeah.
And so people don't want to come out because they think that they're going to get penalised for it.
Yeah.
They were 7 times more likely, for Black men especially, 7 times more likely than their white counterparts to be sectioned. And we're a lot less likely to kind of go in by choice. Yeah, the statistics are really bad, and they've actually been bad for the last 50 years as well. So it's not like it's a new thing. Like historically, it's always been that way, and I think it mixes in because, like you were saying earlier, Shauna, like the pressure for women in general, like people who are assigned female at birth, like the pressure to be put together, organized. There's also a cultural pressure to that, like as women in our society. So to then defer from that and be, like hold this diagnosis that's associated with like forgetting things and not being organized, it's like there's not really space for you to do that. And then cue masking, cue overcompensating, cue depression and perfectionism and all that stuff. So I think it kind of knocks on in that sense.
Rena O'Connor, episode 29.
I think what's interesting for me as well, I don't know how you guys find it with ADHD, but I have periods of time where like I'm grand, like I have no self-criticism, nothing, like and I used to associate this with hormones, and I guess it still does have to do with hormones, but everything's fine, there's rosy a few weeks of the month or whatever, and I'm like, it's grand, everything's fine, I'm grand. And then the 1 or 2 weeks of the month where you go, you are the biggest piece of shit, and all of the things that I would have like been like, it's no problem 2 weeks ago, now are absolute solid evidence of what a piece of shit I am.
Yeah.
Like, you cannot dispute this evidence. You cannot dispute it. This like piece of shit. So so I think like understanding that as well and riding that wave like a little bit more, I don't know, sensibly well, not getting lost in it, I guess.
Our wonderful jewellery maker, Rebecca Cowley of Working Clasp, from the episode 29 bonus blether.
The fact that, you have ADHD and you can relate, like, it just gives it that extra touch, it's just not some random person that's making our merch. Like, it actually means something, and you're part of the community. So
the kind of inspiration for that was just like, so I wanted to do something to help. I've always wanted to do something to help my sister because I see her struggling, and I'm just like the older sister and I can't do anything, and I just wanted to do something. And then I was thinking about like the way she's always been so kind of what's the word, extroverted and fun, and she kind of like presents like she doesn't care what anybody thinks of her, and she's funny and she's amazing and she's out there. And like I just thought like what jewelry would represent that kind of fearlessness as well. So I wanted to make something that was going to make so for people with ADHD to wear, and for other people with ADHD to see, and hopefully it kind of is like a beacon, I guess, or like a, because a lot of people with ADHD, they enjoy, there's, dopamine dressing is a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so excited when I found out that phrase, because it's just like visual. I was hoping to make something that was like visual dopamine, that's colourful and bright and fun and sparkly. And then, I had this scenario in my head where like you're at a festival and you're wearing the jewelry and someone comes over and they're like, I love that, because I feel like everyone who has, well, a lot of people who have ADHD, including myself, do go up to random strangers and say, I love that, where did you get it from? So I was hoping that could make that little connection and kind of make conversation with people, to help people find their tribe with like a kind of little visual kind of signifier.
The one and only Mrs. ADHD, episode 30.
Previous to James, I mean, I've always struggled with being faithful. I've always struggled actually with like sex and intimacy, because I get, I always wanted to be in a relationship, but as soon as I got settled into a relationship, I'd have so many problems with the sex that either I'd get overstimulated, so I just can't bear it. Sorry, I'm going to overshare massively here, because that's me.
That's good.
Get like massively overstimulated, so I can't bear any touch. So then what I have to do is I can disassociate from my body. I've got a place inside my head that I can go to. So I if I get overstimulated, I can just switch off and then I'm somewhere else. So I'm not getting turned on because I'm not even aware of what's going on inside my body. Or I'm understimulated, or I'll get hyper-focused on something that they're doing wrong. Like, I don't know, they're rubbing my leg thinking it's my clit or something. And I'm just thinking, it happens, doesn't it? And I'm thinking, what a fucking dick.
Behind the little toe, no?
So then I'm focused on that, just thinking, what a fuck, and there's no way I'm going to get turned on then.
Yeah.
But all of that, for some reason, would disappear if I had like a one night stand, or, those first butterflies that you get. I'd get none of those things with the sex, because the excitement of it caught me up so much. I wasn't thinking about anything else. I wasn't getting distracted by what I'm going to eat for dinner or whatever. I was into it. So then what happened was, every relationship I've had, I've been unfaithful because the sex wasn't fulfilling, and I'm just searching for it all the time. So I've been shit in relationships, and I really regret that, actually, that I didn't just leave the relationship and just play around, because half of me wanted to be in a loving relationship, and the other half just couldn't stand the sex in that relationship.
Hannah Walker-Brown, episode 31.
And there's this thing that I found myself saying it a lot, and I think it's that thing, isn't it? They tell you to like repeat a mantra, then you'll finally believe it. But I keep saying to myself, I forgive you. Whereas before I'd be so hard. I'm still quite hard on myself, but I'd be so hard on myself and actually someone did remind me, like, my 100 is a lot of people's 40. Like percentage wise, and I even have 100 tattooed on me here for that reason, just to remember. So then it's like, but I feel if I'm not like breaking my back on the floor, like giving it everything, then I'm not good enough. And actually,
you see that hurting my throat. I'm getting a lump in my throat.
I know. I mean, but it isn't. It's like, I don't know if I could have lived another 33 years feeling like that. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's really not a good place to be with yourself. And so, a bit more self-compassion, I think, and forgiveness, it definitely
100%.
Adele, at This Might Help ADHD, episode 32.
The second you get told you've got ADHD, the doctor's telling you you've got it. And what they're really kind of saying is, you've been on a roller coaster your entire life and you've tried to make peace with that, but you're not getting off it. And it's like this for good. This is who you are. And I think, for me, thinking about where I might be in that journey is like, I've accepted that I'm going to have a lifetime of ups and downs. And that, I think, makes it a little bit easier to accept that, this is a lifetime on a roller coaster, and that's just who I am, and that's what I'm going to be facing into. And that's been a really important one to acknowledge. There will always be ups and downs, and that's just got to be okay, because that's who I am.
Our other wonderful creator, Steph, from All the Discos, on episode 32, Bonus Blether.
I am neurotypical, but like having had the, you know, talking about this now and the conversations we've had in the past, and from that point of the honesty, you know, like we are able to have so much more honest conversations now, which has just helped our friendship moving forwards, no end, you know, endlessly. And the podcast has amazingly helped you to be able to talk about how you feel and to do that privately as well in our friendship situations too. And it's really helpful for me to listen and to, you know, chat with our other friends about it as well.
Yeah.
So that we all have that understanding and keep that honesty and knowledge going. It's so important.
Another bonus blether from episode 32, this time featuring me and my diagnosis.
So after that appointment with the NHS, I then contacted my doctor, and that's when I made the decision to go private. And I could have only have done that with the help of the listeners and everyone that supported us through our Buy Me a Coffee.
Just can't say thank you enough.
Yeah, I cannot thank you guys enough, because this is genuinely going to change my life.
Siobhan O'Connor, episode 33.
It's taken a lot of me sort of like deep diving into like personal development to be able to explain to people, like, if I seem like I'm overreacting to you about something, it's because of this, this and this.
Yeah.
But it's taken me to get to like nearly 32 to have the language to explain that to people.
Yeah.
But at least you have it now.
Yeah, exactly. And hopefully I'll get more language the older and wiser I get.
The Most ADHD Thing, episode 35.
And the whole thing that we do with the Most ADHD Thing is to kind of, what's the word you use?
A shame eradicator.
Yes, that's it. It's a shame eradicator. If we can't laugh at some of these things that happen, then we'll cry.
And we do cry, and we have cried, and we will cry. So really, it's about camaraderie. We are all in this together, and if we can laugh at these things and we can identify that other people are experiencing the same, then it takes away that shame and unites us even more as a community. So that's why we invented this concept.
Single Parent Pessimist, Claire Jacobs, episode 36.
Some of the traits are bigger at different times, even down to from birth. So like up until the age of 9, the biggest ones usually for girls, things like emotional dysregulation, distractibility and social struggles. But then you hit teenage years, 10 to 19, and it changes to like procrastination, time management. So I don't know if you're late at school, you know, those sort of things, and late with homework. I was the opposite. I was meticulous, but that's why I'm thinking the autism is there. Anyway, 20 to 39, which is where I started hugely struggling when I, with hormones and everything, and with these conditions, you end up with overwhelm as a big trait, as well as your time management. And then you hit 40 and you get even more overwhelmed. You get brain fog, memory issues, all this stuff. So each stage has different things. Yes. And it's also to do with hormones. So when you're a teenager, the influx of estrogen and everything else can really change your ADHD presentation. But then when you have a baby, I did not know this, I wish I did, you obviously, a lot of people get diagnosed with postnatal depression, baby blues. It's not. For ADHD, it's actually your ADHD goes crazy after you've had a baby, because all the hormones are trying to reset, and it's horrific, and it doesn't just last a few months like people expect it to. It took me a few years to adjust to that. Mix in, I've got PCOS and endometriosis, which is all about chemical hormone imbalances. That's another story for other people that feel that same pain.
Yeah,
but then
I'm one of those.
Are you? Oh,
yeah,
God,
I've got endo.
It's horrible. I just had PCOS now recently. Now I also have endo, so I've got that to look forward to with all that now. But that's awful with your hormones. Then we hit the lovely stage I'm going towards, which is perimenopause, and that's my big current hyperfocus, because scarily perimenopause isn't as late as we believe. The average age, you can start from age 35. So the perimenopausal symptoms can come, and for ADHD women, it's horrific. And there's a big thought out there that the reason a lot of us late 30s, early 40s people are now getting diagnosed is because of the perimenopausal symptoms are exacerbating the ADHD, and that we're finally unmasking because we can't take it, and then we're going, and then we're getting tested. So there's a big drive for saying how badly they affect each other. And that's, so I think it's a lot. Menopause is something that's not really talked about much anyway in society. It's something that old women get, and they get hot flushes and blah, blah, blah. It's so much more than that, because perimenopause can start like 10 years before that. And you've got 10 years of your estrogen decreasing, which completely messes with your ADHD, like crazily. And it comes to a point where a lot of women can't mask anymore, even if they want to, because of how badly it affects it. And I think that's something that we really need to know, because the biggest way of helping that apparently is like hormone replacement therapy. Things that social media, society, for my whole life have always said is a really bad thing. Don't do HRT. It can make you ill, give you cancer, blah, blah, blah. But it can be a saving grace for people like us.
From the incredible and inspiring Laura and her 1-year ADHD diagnosis anniversary episode 37.
I knew more about it than anybody I knew.
Yeah.
So it was like, I approached people by saying, look, I've just been diagnosed with this. This is what it means. I'm going to have treatment. And then I sent, alongside that kind of message, some links to different articles. So it was things that I knew had some weight. So like, I don't know, like Attitude Mag or things like that, that were like,
a little bit of backup support.
Yes, this isn't just like my opinion or whatever. This is really how it is.
Meryl Davis, episode 38.
I think what I love about this, and without knowing it for most of my life, was that it gave me such a massive amount of empathy for other people. Because you know that there's always something you're struggling with, so there's no way that other people aren't struggling with something. And you know, it's hard. We're all trying to be people, be human. But I think if you start with that place, you can't not be loving and accepting of people from other backgrounds, other cultures, other just everything, other religions, mental mindsets. I think the empathy, the forgiveness ability, I think all of that is I'm grateful for learning to and understanding that I could be more that way because of what I have, you know.
The incredible disability campaigner Kat Owens from episode 38's bonus blether.
I've been a disability campaigner all my adult life, and there's a really good saying, nothing about us without us. And, you know, I just feel like we're the people that will get this done.
Katie Harrison, episode 40.
So the overlap that exists can be kind of defined by social constructs. Okay, so like when we look at social constructs in general, so we look at gender as a social construct, not sex, but gender. We look at like taxes and money as a social construct, education as a social construct. So like think of those kinds of things, right? Like the things that socially exist and wouldn't without society. So like when I was growing up, the way I grew up in a really small town in a really small school. And so the way that I was handled in my ADHD was to push aside, right? So my memory in school is like I was in a desk outside of the classroom all the time, or in ISS, or in a place where I could be contained and I wouldn't be a distraction. And so I was consistently my whole life pushed outside of these places where everybody else just seemed to fit in naturally. And so I almost kind of just from a really young age felt outside of everything else. Like there was something wrong with me that couldn't be defined or explained. And so when we do that as a society to other people, and we push them outside of society and say, like, you belong on the fringes, there's something wrong with you that isn't accepted in here, then what happens is that the constructs that society has framed life in don't apply. They don't make sense to us. We are not conditioned to them because we are pushed outside of them. And therefore we defy them for no other reason other than we didn't learn them.
Abigail Adji, episode 41.
I think a lot of the times healthcare, education as well, kind of need to assess some of their policies and look and think, is there maybe some unconscious or conscious bias with some stuff? Because definitely in engaging with a lot of Black women, I've often heard their experiences in navigating the kind of diagnosis process and really feeling like they have to proper advocate for themselves. They're kind of being minimized. They're being told it's probably something else, or it doesn't seem.
Why do you think that is? Like, what is it that's being minimized? Like, what is the stereotype or the idea that is stunting this? What do you think?
So I think there's an array of things. I think, especially for a lot of Black women, I think there's often a lot of like I think expectations and pressures around Black women. So there's often that strong Black woman trope, and I think a lot of the time there's a lot of things that I've even had to understand with myself. And I think why I often felt a lot of that internalized shame was Black women are often taught that kind of this should be domesticated, they should be nurturers, they're strong, they can handle kind of a lot of things, which is why I think generally in the healthcare system you see in a lot of different things that there is kind of that gap in addressing Black women's needs with maternity, things like that. There is those significant disparities, and I think a lot of come out about the idea that there's kind of this idea that they can handle pain and stuff a bit better. So I think sometimes in the diagnosis process that can be the experience where it's minimized or presumed it's something else.
The amazing illustrator Charlotte Meller Meacham of Whisperworks from episode 41 Bonus Blether.
I'm going to use the word role model loosely because I don't think anyone with ADHD would describe themselves as a role model.
You certainly
but what I'd say is I think it's really important for people to kind of say, like, this is what we're doing and we know we're not perfect and people make mistakes, but we're doing it anyway. And this is partly what your tour's about. And especially in this world where there's so many people trying to say, I am perfect on Instagram or social media or anything. There's this whole thing and setting standards that's not real. And to not be doing that is quite rebellious, really. And it's super refreshing.
The award-winning artist Jacob Kelly from episode 43.
Once I started meeting people face-to-face or online and going, okay, that is me, or hearing about rejection sensitivity dysphoria for the first time on a podcast that I was interviewing some girl, I'm going, fucking hell, that's me. And that sort of going, oh my God, they get me. Everything comes from that. So wherever you're living in the world, listen to these podcasts, listen to TED Talks, look in your area, what local groups are available. If there's not, there's loads of online stuff. And the great thing about the ADHD community, we are so caring and we will help in any way if we can. And I think if I was a parent or anyone looking for any like gold dust advice, it's that peer-to-peer psychoeducation stuff. That's where you learn about the medical stuff of ADHD, but also the sort of just gritty bits and the good bits and the bad bits and the sort of grey bits. And then you can go, actually, this is why ADHD, we can do this, and this is stuff we struggle with. And so like now I feel so confident when I'm in a park and my daughter goes, oh, my dad's got ADHD. And then I go, oh yeah, and talk about and feel proud about I'm talking about my experiences, not like it's a dirty little secret, because it's not. It's nothing we should be ashamed of.
Priyanka Patel, episode 46.
My mum had a suspicion, but I think because of, the awareness, particularly in our culture, it's not very accepted. But then also because of the stigma, like the parents get blamed, it's your fault. You give them too much sugar, you let them watch too much TV. And I think it's a combination of all of those things that they thought they were probably doing the best thing for me. And that's what helped me come at peace with that whole feeling of being betrayed, because, your parents would never want to do anything to make you have a hard life. And they were doing what they thought was best for you.
Louise O'Mahony, episode 47.
I'm with someone new who he did know that I was on this ADHD journey when we started dating. And we were at a party together, and occasionally I'll meet someone at a party that has ADHD and I'll start talking about it. And he joined in the conversation, started talking about how it affects, how it manifests differently in women and things like this. And I'm looking at him and I'm like, how do you know what's and it turns out that he was listening to your podcast before I'd even like properly started getting into it, because he thought that it would help him get to know me better and put him in a better position to be a more understanding partner if he understood it more. And he went straight in for the ADHD AF one as well, because dating a woman, he wanted to make sure that he understood what was going on with me with that. And it meant so much. I didn't even really know what to say when I found out that he didn't even tell me that he was doing this. It was just
I just think it's the sweetest thing ever.
Stacey Heel, episode 49.
When I was a kid, I remember my mum saying to me, "You're like," it was the normal thing of a kid of like, "Your room is so messy, go and tidy your room, go and tidy your room." And anytime my friends phone me, they would always be like, "You're always tidying your room.
Yeah.
You're always tidying your room all the time."
Literally the story of my life.
Yeah, you're always like, how is there that much to tidy? Like in your own bedroom. But I was always just like being asked to tidy my room. And then when I was a teenager, and then my mum said, "When you move out, you will have a tidy, you will not live like this when you move out." Moved out as a student. I remember her coming to my house and being like, "What the fuck is this?
Yeah.
This is mental." And then it turned into, when you own your own home, when you own your own property, you won't live like this. You will not live like this. And then I owned my own home. And it was the same. And that really like tapped into that thing of like, I am just shit then. Because even my mum, who knows me the most and who's really great at that kind of stuff, has said to me, "This will happen to you as you grow up, this will happen to you." And it never did.
Yeah.
It never did happen for me. And so having children was this thing of like, oh shit, now you're involved. Now you've got to be like, because before, the chaos, my personal chaos, was kind of my own, and I could kind of hide how chaotic I was. I was the master of hiding how chaotic I was and still am, I would say, as well. But you can't really hide that with kids, because they're basically with you all the bloody time, and they live in your house, and that killed me.
Talk to Coco, episode 50.
For me, like I always say, I wouldn't change who I was at all. Like I love that I'm different. Like anything I go for, I put it on my application. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, and then if it's for them then to deal with, that's what I've realized too. It's not our problem, because that's another burden I think that I've always carried on my shoulders. And I don't know if you ladies are the same, like that it's my fault that I feel this way, or it's my fault that I'm this way. And then I think now I'm like, nah, F all of you who can't deal with me, because that's your problem. It ain't a me problem anymore, because this is who I am. Do you know what I'm saying? You can't, like, we can't change it.
Yeah, a disability, a brain disorder is not a personal failing. I haven't done that. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And people think sometimes that you're just being a bitch, or you're just being awkward or difficult. Hello, chemical imbalance here. Like, give me the other chemicals to make it right, and then maybe we can all do that, but no one can. So, do you know what I mean? F you kind of thing. Yeah, definitely. It's a them problem, not an us problem, ladies. That's what I know.
Yeah.
Everyone could go and suck a banana. How about that?
So that's some highlights.
Yeah, that's just the business. I felt really emotional going through all of those. It's amazing. Really, really amazing, and so weird that it's all just happened in a year consecutively, back-to-back madness.
And that we've spoken to all those people.
But you and I did a thing for a whole year.
We did.
And we achieved it. And now we're on tour.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
It's mad. But we're going to take a little bit of time out. We're going to practice some of that self-care that we preach about all of the time.
Yeah.
And we're going to come back with season 2.
With our ducks in a row and a lot more support.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We won't come back until we do, but bear with us. There'll be bonuses, and the community will still be there. So please come and join us in the community. If you fancy a blether and peer-to-peer support, blogs, vlogs, the works, all of that business, come on down.
Yes. What's been your most ADHD thing so far on this tour?
Well, I've got 2 today. So I just blindly rummaged in my bag, and of course my razor was just sitting out on top, and I just cut off the whole top of my little finger.
Yeah,
and it didn't stop bleeding for about 3 hours. So that was that. And then when we got in, I couldn't find any of the prizes that we put aside for the bingo. Everyone knows we're paying ADHDAF bingo. That's not a secret anymore. So we put prizes aside, and I couldn't find them, and they were in the bag that I looked at that were on the stage the entire time. There you go.
Where's my things? That should be your catchphrase.
Yeah.
Laura, where's your things?
And where's the end of my finger?
Yeah, that too. My most ADHD thing of this tour is thinking that I could drive my way around the country, or drive us around the country for the entire tour.
Yeah.
And then had a little bit of a freak out last minute, and which is why I'm no longer driving.
No.
And we have our community members. We're basically hitchhiking our way
Hitching
around.
a ride around the UK
Yeah.
with a bunch of absolute fucking legends that we just are so grateful for, because I don't know what we would have done, and it's just wonderful.
Yeah.
It's actually a really added, exciting element of the whole thing.
Yeah, getting to meet all these people is
Yeah.
just superb. So yeah,
Yeah.
really good. What about you, Nicole? Most ADHD thing?
A little bit of impulsivity.
Just popping you on the spot there.
That I decided to come on the rest of the tour with 20 minutes thinking. I was gonna say that I've been writing the bits that I'm doing with as right before I go on. Like if you hopefully by the time this goes out, I won't be doing it anymore.
Nicole has a show at Edinburgh Fringe.
Yeah.
And she's writing this show as she goes on the road and
With us.
practicing it.
In real time.
In real time.
So whatever I do, when you see it, there's a chance I just wrote it. It might be a bit that's been polished, but there's a very strong chance I will have just written it during the first half of the show, for then me to do it in the second half, which is very impulsive ADHD AF. For sure.
And it's fantastic, and we're listening to it as we go.
Tonight's
show.
is the best.
It was good. This was
Today's
really
one in
good.
Edinburgh was so good.
Yeah.
So, Nicole.
So, actually, maybe by the end of the show, you'll have written the whole
I'm
thing.
actually really hoping that.
Yeah.
Because it's 40 minutes long, so if I can get 8 5-minute bits
Yeah.
that cohesively go together,
Yeah.
that's the whole show.
Yes.
Which sounds very manageable when I break it down like that.
Yes, I love it.
Amazing.
So we'll see. Can I write a show in 10 days?
Watch this space. Why am I like this? We'll be at the Fringe.
Yes. Why am I like
Yes.
this? Indeed.
Yeah.
And
Can you tell why?
ADHD things. Speaking of those, we've had people at each show telling us their most ADHD things that they have done also. And one of our favourites was from the Inverness show, when one of our attendees turned up 50 minutes late, and they wrote that as their most ADHD thing, but they also came in during the time blindness slide. You couldn't write this. You couldn't make it up.
So good.
So yeah, they won a prize at the Inverness show. So come in with your most ADHD things if you are coming to a show.
And bring the slut drops.
And bring your slut drops. Absolutely.
And leopard print, because we are hands on tour.
Yeah.
On tour.
And so if we're not going to see you on tour, then keep an eye out for season 2. Please join our community if you can. And
we just can't say thank you enough.
Yeah.
We really can't. You've changed our lives. And
Really
it
have.
is literally inconceivable and ridiculous that we would be sat here now doing this, but we are. And that's all thanks to your support. So yeah, just thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
We love you. Bye.
Bye.
If you are finding this podcast helpful and you're in a position to do so, we are asking that you help us by signing up to our Patreon. In pledges starting at just £4 a month, it will give you access to our We Are ADHDAF community forum, in which we are both active members and we all support and learn from each other. You will also get access to behind-the-scenes content, exclusives, offers, blogs, vlogs, the works, everything in the kitchen sink. Your pledge will also mean that we will be able to continue to put out weekly episodes of ADHD as Females, the podcast.
Alternatively, if you would prefer just to make a donation, you can do so by visiting buymeacoffee.com/ADHD as females. We know that our words are helping people in 164 countries and counting.
We really appreciate your support in supporting us to continue supporting the ADHD community.
If you are ADHDAF and you want more ADHDAF, join the We Are ADHDAF community. www.patreon.com/ADHD as females.
ADHD as females, ADHDAF, ADHD as females.